Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrificed my time so you don't have to. So you're actually probably getting this video most likely around 7:30, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. In reality, I actually recorded this around 9:30. I recorded this probably like an hour after I uploaded the Dave Meltzer video, 45 minutes to an hour. I just didn't want to keep bombarding you guys with video after video after video on somewhat of a similar topic. Different topic, but in relation to like the main topic, which is the viewership number and just the mind-boggling news, just because of how the mighty have fallen, right, with Dynamite losing to NXT. But we've been through that. Go check out the last two videos from yesterday. What I do want to talk about, and this is me playing the whole game of fair is fair, and let me just say this on the offset. I like Swerve Strickland. I fuck with Swerve Strickland's character. I fuck with how he presents himself. He has a very star quality about him, but at the same time, the way he carries himself is very anti-heroish, very devious. And the way I look at Swerve Strickland, honestly, I look at it as a guy who's not being taken advantage of. I look at it as a guy who, for an example, you should be manipulating the shit out of what he brings to the table and putting it on the forefront, easy for me to say, and making that the star attraction of your show. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, Devontae, he's the world champion. Should he already be considered the star attraction? Well, welcome to my world. That's how I feel about professional wrestling. This isn't really an AEW problem. They're the most egregious at it, but this isn't really an AEW problem. This is just a wrestling problem in general with putting the focal point on the world champions. I've ranted about this so many times. Just go back in the past. If you need a specific video to go to, talk to me. I'll let you know where to go. But, like I said, fair is fair. I called out MJF like a year ago. I think I did one also like a couple of months ago, like probably back in maybe October or so, when I called out MJF as far as being one of the worst drawing world champions in the history of AEW. And it's simple math, really. Show is drawing horribly, drawing to the extent that from a mainstream standpoint, you are the lowest drawing main company in the history of professional wrestling. That takes into account all the other main shows, whether you're talking about WCW, whether you're talking about WWE, right? Whether you're talking about TNA in their heyday before they got off of television. One can even argue ECW when they were on TNN at first, before, WWE came behind and fucked the shit out of them out of that contract, right? In my opinion, actually, no, it's factual. Can't say in my opinion. And people are going to probably be like, Devontae, you sound like you're struggling to say it. Spit it out, fuckhead. Okay, yeah, I'll say it. Swerve Strickland is the lowest drawing world champion in wrestling history. By default, same logic applies to MJF, will apply to Swerve Strickland. Now that we got that out of the way, because that's subjective, can we now focus on the reason why Swerve Strickland is one of the worst drawing, if not the worst drawing? No, he is the worst drawing champion in wrestling history by mere fact of correlation. Usually you don't want to look at the whole correlation stemming off of the causation argument, because that's obviously going to be a fallacy. But in this case, you can look at the correlation being the causation, because he is the world champion, and look at the viewership numbers. Nope. That's when that argument starts to fall apart. And absolutely, correlation doesn't equal causation. And you know what? I'm gonna be even more charitable to you, and I'm gonna group in MJF. See, I feel like I jumped the gun, and people are gonna probably be like, Devontae, you're now coming to this conclusion all of a sudden when Swerve Strickland, the one is not drawing. Where was all this animosity for Tony Khan and how he books when you were taking apart MJF as far as his viewership number? Well, I'll be the first one to admit ignorance. I'll be the first one to admit that I underestimated Tony Khan and his stupidity. I'll be the first one to take into context the way I looked at MJF as far as when I called it out around April, May, or June of last year. I looked at it from the standpoint of how long he was champion coming up to this point. But the more and more I look at Tony Khan's recent booking, and then you start to take into account that the guys rarely ever main event the shows, In Swerve Strickland's case, he didn't even main event the pay-per-view. At least MJF got the courtesy of main event in all his pay-per-views for the most part, from my understanding, from what I can remember. Outside of maybe the Fatal 4-Way match at Double or Nothing last year, I think MJF, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he main evented all his world title matches, right? Again, I could be wrong about that. And I mean on pay-per-views. Obviously, you have gotten episodes where he opened up the show. But I felt more vindicated when looking at how MJF carried the championship belt, and considering that he himself is the star pillar of the show that most people come to watch. I feel more credible and I feel more validated whenever I call MJF the person who is literally the face of AEW, the guy who takes the brunt of the issue. But that still doesn't take into account that Tony Khan rarely booked MJF also in the main event. Go look at the past Dynamite episodes of 2023 and late 2022. The same issue persists with MJF also. Rarely booked in the main event, rarely given multiple segments, rarely given a chance to really shine as far as going out of what he already does in his comfort zone and really starting to flesh out his character. Not the bullshit we got sooner or later with Adam Cole, fuck that bullshit, but fleshing out in the sense of how he's a heel and what we could have gotten out of him in regards to the angles that could have participated in order to get him over even further, right? Because that's what it's all about when it comes to angles, is giving you another layer of your story to give you more reasoning to want to see you get your revenge or want to see you actually go out of your way to take action. And I look at all that and I say to myself, I jumped the gun with MJF. Like I said, I underestimated Tony Khan and his booking ability. Because you look at someone like Swerve Strickland, and yes, like I said, objectively, world champion, lower viewership number. If that's your argument, you will not get an argument out of me. That has always been the status quo of professional wrestling, is if you're the top guy with the world title, you are who is responsible for the ratings, right? People can get mad at that all they want to. If you were that upset about Swerve Strickland and his position within the company, you will be raising way more hell than what you're currently doing at the moment. IBC and give Swerve a chance, training like you did with the fucking Divas. But you're not doing that because you don't give a fuck about Swerve. And quite frankly, I'll sit back and I'll just put my hands up and say, you know what, Devontae? Tit-tit-tat, what is wrong with you? Come on, boy. Enough with the hypocrisy, okay? Because the way he's being booked, I guess I don't give a fuck about Swerve Strickland either. And I like the guy. Like I said, I would like to see more of Swerve Strickland on my TV. I would like to see more of the stuff that he did with Hangman Adam Page in the beginning of their feud last year. But we don't get that. Instead, what we get is Swerve Strickland having to go out there and carry almost everything in regards to a story based off of his promos and based off of his wrestling. Very rarely do you get legitimate fucking angles, right? And even with the angles that you do get, you ask yourself, is that really a priority in regards to what you should be putting Swerve Strickland in regards to coinciding him with said superstar? For an example, I love Christian to death. Grew up on Christian. Idolized Christian. Part of one of my favorite tag teams of all time, Legend Christian, right? Having a hell of a fucking run in AEW currently at the moment. One may argue it's his best run in his career. I disagree. I think it's TNA personally, but no arguments out of me. We're arguing semantics here, okay? We're arguing our opinions, and regardless, Christian is a legend. With that being said, no. Absolutely not. He had no right being Swerve Strickland's first opponent. At all. There was no reason to do that. At all. What you should have done with Swerve Strickland is that you should have involved him in the match in Anarchy in the Arena. Now, obviously, with him being in Anarchy in the Arena, that would have probably made me hate him a little bit more because fuck that match. But logistically looking at everything in regards to him being the world champion, that storyline in particular being the biggest in the company, which again, one may argue, Devontae, why put all the blame on Swerve Strickland when you have this terrible fucking feud? Why put all the blame on Swerve Strickland when Tony Khan probably has like 3 guys above him as far as recent signings are considered who probably make more than Swerve Strickland at the moment with Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, and Kazuchika Okada, right? One may argue to themselves, Devontae, why are you now arguing Swerve Strickland being a lowest drawing champion? Never mind all the stuff you talked about with the Elite. Never mind all the stuff you talked about with the new signings. Whatever happened to AEW happens to be the biggest draw in the company. The banner happens to be the biggest company draw, period. Just like WWE. And to be quite frank, I will give you that. I would definitely say that AEW as a banner is the least drawing factor within AEW as far as it's supposing to be its priority, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's all about the initials that does the draw, right? But let me ask you a question. Who gives the energy for that drawing sign to spark, to get life, if you will? I think that would be the superstars, right? I would think that'd be the angles, right? Now you can look at WWE for an example, and you can say that you want to experience WWE, right? I don't look at Roman Reigns. I don't look at the Usos. I don't look at Cody Rhodes. I think to myself that these guys are who are pulling the wagon of WWE. I think to myself that these guys, they're just on cruise control, and this is all automatic. They ain't pulling no motherfucking horse carriage, if you will. WWE, they're the drivers, and they happen to be passengers in the car of WWE, right? It's easier to explain because WWE has a household name. AEW does not have a household name. Don't let any of the AEW faithful fool you. They absolutely don't. So even though the AEW banner happens to be the biggest draw, because of, in comparison, who do they have that can really combat with the logo in itself, that still does take away from the fact that other superstars cannot get over and be much bigger than the brand. That can never happen in WWE. They're way too established, right? But in AEW's case, I'll give you an example. CM Punk. CM Punk as a name is a bigger name than the AEW brand in itself. We all know this to be the case. I'm being objective here when it comes to CM Punk and his drawing ability in AEW. That happens to be the case. His name has more input. It has more value in the mind of wrestling fans compared to AEW. How do I know that? Go look at his ratings in WWE and then come back and look at his ratings in AEW. And you tell me which one had the market behind them and had everything else in behind them, and they're working in tandem, versus the guy in the other company who legitimately was trying to put them on the map. So then we come back to the Swerve Strickland issue, and quite frankly, we could say MJF also. I might even put him in the title, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm talking about him just as much as Swerve Strickland, because it's now starting to dawn on me, because considering he was the champion before Swerve Strickland, or actually, who was it? I think it was Samoa Joe, and then it was MJF. You take all that into consideration, and what can you do? All you can do is take back what you said previously, right? That's all you can do. I can't look at Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, when it's all said and done, it ended up being the transitional champion, right? We see it now. He feuded with MJF, and then immediately afterwards, he went directly into a feud with Swerve Strickland until he eventually dropped the belt to Swerve Strickland. He was only there to get the belt off of MJF and on to Swerve Strickland. We all get that. That's why I want to focus strictly on Swerve and focus strictly on MJF. The booking on Tony Khan's end is what is doing them in. Both wrestlers, whether it has anything to do with the angles, whether it has anything to do with the storylines, whether it has anything to do with the multiple sessions that they can have, or multiple segments, there are multiple things that we talk about over and over again that Tony Khan can do for his company and help get his talent over that he never utilizes. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because he's living out his Mark dream, right? His Mark dream to see fantasy booked matches that he can now play out in real life instead of his video games. We all know that happens to be the case, unfortunately, and even more unfortunately, that comes at the expense of his talent. I look at people who come to me all the time who ask me simple questions like, Devontae, you bring up angles like Randy Orton and Triple H and the break-in stuff. You talk about Stone Cold Steve Austin in the beer truck, or Stone Cold and the bridge, or Stone Cold and Booker T in the supermarket. You talk about all these things, and you say these is what actually helped get people over in professional wrestling back in the days. Why do you believe AEW won't do it, even though they should know at this point that highlighting one superstar and making them the focal point of the show and having them go throughout the entire card, all it does is put more meaning on that superstar, and it makes that superstar a much more bigger talent. So eventually that much more bigger talent could be siphoned from the next superstar. Again, it's the same formula that worked in the Attitude Era, where you had Stone Cold Steve Austin super duper fucking white hot. You had Mike Tyson put him over along with Shawn Michaels, and throughout the way of him doing that, he feuded with The Undertaker, who eventually feuded with Mankind, who eventually feuded with The Rock, who eventually feuded with Triple H. And that's how you do it. One guy siphons off the other guy, then that guy siphons off that guy who siphoned off the other guy, then vice versa, and it keeps going on and on and on. It's a domino effect. It's a domino effect of spreading the wealth of what you have going on from a power standpoint, right? And unfortunately, AEW doesn't do that. They really believe the perspective of not equality, but equity. And by equity, I mean everybody deserves a chance. Not why do they deserve a chance, just because they deserve a chance. And that's very detrimental to guys like Swerve, Strickland, and MJF. Because while you're busy putting on this 20 fucking minute match for this lower card bullshit nonsense that has no business being on my television, that literally has no implications at all for the pay-per-view. You usually see this with the Blackpool Combat Club when they wrestle some random fucking Mexican or some random fucking Joshi wrestler or fucking New Japan wrestler, whatever the case may be. They probably wrestle Joshis too. I wouldn't be surprised by it, right? It stems off of that issue right there when you have people on television who have nothing going for themselves, wrestling for no fucking reason, but because you want to see the 5-star Dave Meltzer classics. Well, okay, cool. You get your 5 fucking star Dave Meltzer classics, and guess what happens in the end of the day with you so focused on those matches? You neglect your superstars, the ones who actually have potential, who could be drawn for you at the moment. You neglect them in order to get your fucking nut out. You gotta bust backstage in Gorilla. I'm gooted! Ah, Shibata, you're making me goon! Well, cool. Have your goon session, bro. Left hand and right hand. I'm proud of you. But you know who's back there watching you scream, goon? Well, that'd be Swerve Strickland. That'd be MJF. Rolling their eyes. I can hear them rolling their eyes right now. Right now, I can hear them scoffing. I don't know where they're at right now, but if you open your ears a little bit loud, open your ears wide, right? You can hear the scoff coming out of their voices in real time, knowing how they're going to be booked next week. Because guess what? With guys like MJF and Swerve Strickland, he feels, well, you know, you guys kind of have the capability to pull whatever cart on your own. Well, wow, these guys right here, I don't think they can do it. Now I'm going to pretend and I'm going to tell you that they can do it, but I don't really think they can necessarily do it. So if you don't mind, because I can't do it either, we're just going to go play over here. And then you turn around and like, well, Tony, what you gonna do about me, man? See, you're the world champion, Swerve. You're gonna be okay. Oh, and MJF, you know how to talk, so you're gonna be okay. These guys right here, though, they're not gonna be okay. They don't have a title. I know they're probably like 1 out of 10 people who don't have fucking belts. And MJF over here, well, again, he could talk himself. This guy has nothing. Let me go put him in a match, and hopefully he can get over via this match, and the fans are gonna like him, and the AEW faithful are gonna like him, and that somehow is gonna transition into mainstream culture. Why am I smiling? Oh, that's the cocaine. Yeah, that's the reason why I'm telling you all this. Oh yeah, I'm super high off of cocaine right now. That's the only explanation I can get out of Tony Khan as to why he would think something so dumb, but best believe that's what he's thinking at the moment. That these guys right here have natural built-in crutches. It's the whole equity thing all over again, right? You seen the meme when it comes to equity, when you got the fence right there, and you have the person who's tall looking over the fence, you have the person who's short not looking over the fence, and it's like, well, equity is, it's giving the guy a stool, and now you both can look over the fucking fence, right? Or excuse me, that's equality. Equality is giving the guy a stool, and now they're the same size and they can look out over the fence. Whereas equity is tearing down the fucking fence, and now no one has a fence. And that's AEW in a nutshell. Why give someone a crutch where they can just stand up and look over the fence along with you, when we could just tear down the entire fence without knowing what the fuck we're doing? It's right back to the fire hydrant, or right back to the thing in the middle of the road that I talked about earlier. Yesterday. Check out that video also. It's the underneath the surface video. It's fucking badass. Grow some hair on your balls while you're at it, right? But Swerve Strickland being the worst drawing champion, I guess subjectively that happens to be true. But why? Why is he the worst drawing champion in wrestling history? Why was MJF the worst drawing champion in wrestling history? And like I said, I fucked up with the MJF coverage last year on my Millennial Smart channel. That's cool. You'll never get right. You'll never be able to see it regardless. Oh fuck! I got another MJF viewership number video on this channel. Fuck. Okay, whatever. You get what I'm trying to say, though, right? I jumped the gun when it came to MJF because, you know, as much as people want to say that he lacks the drawing ability, you do have to ask yourself sometime, okay, well, fuck, if he has the talent, the fundamental talents to do whatever he can to get something over, then clearly there's a blockage right there, right? He has a bit of the blocked car. He has a bit of the blocked arteries, right? My homeboys got that hypertension swag going on right now. Well, fuck, who's the medication? Because it's surely not Tony Khan. So if he's sick and Tony Khan is too much of a retard to give him proper medication, can you really blame the superstar for being sick? It just happened. But hey, what can I do if I can't find a cure for it, right? That's how I feel about seeing MJF now. And honestly, that's how I feel when I see Swerve Strickland. Like I said, third time's the charm. Yes, we can acknowledge that Swerve Strickland is, by default, the worst drawing champion in AEW history. But like I said when reflecting off of MJF, which I wish I would have said at the time, who do you blame for this situation? And actually, I think I did say that during the MJF video, the one that's on this channel at least. It's one of my earlier videos. Go check it out. Like I said, grow some hair on your balls. I just want the world champion to be more visible. It's hard to put the blame on people who are hardly there, but at the same time, well, they're your world champion. So if they're not getting the blame, then who the fuck is getting the blame, right? Now, one will say arguably it should be the elite. It should be all the talent that's being paid millions of dollars. But that's me using logic, and that's you using logic. Leave it up to the AEW faithful. Well, looks like the belt happens to be on a guy who's not one of their favorites. Let it would have been Will Ospreay. We get 1,000,001 excuses, but when it's on Swerve Strickland, and no, it's not a race issue. Let's not make this a race issue. It's a bias towards your favorite talent issue. And that's okay. That's okay. But do I feel comfortable calling him the worst drawing champion? No. Do I now feel comfortable calling MJF the worst drawing champion? No. The worst drawing champion of all time objectively is Swerve and MJF, but make no mistake about it. The cause of that issue is absolutely Chia Pet Khan. And I said it, and I'll say it from the mountaintops. The problem is Chia Pet motherfucking Khan. Yeah, I'm kind of drunk. Don't worry about that. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Oh, Devontae, here you go, cucking for Swerve Strickland again. It's because you happen to be midnight purple and he happens to be damn near fucking the shade gray because he's so goddamn... Can I get messed up on YouTube for that? Who fucking cares? You get what I'm trying to say though, man. Yes. No. Maybe. I don't know. Look, I'm just looking at what the objective, obvious truth happens to be. And I'm also looking at, one may say subjective, but I like to point at you, exhibit fucking Chia Pet over here. And I'm just saying is, well, okay. Can we at least point out the reason why he's in this position? Should have done it for MJF, I know. But I'm doing it now with Swerve Strickland. And I'll do it for any other talent who happens to be in this position also. Because fair is fair. And love and war. And give your homie a hug. And get the fuck off my goddamn channel! No, I'm joking. You can watch any video you want. But get the fuck off of this video right here, because it's about to end right now. Or rewind it. I don't give a fuck. It's your damn phone, your damn laptop, your damn equipment. I don't know. Or maybe it's mine. I don't know. Did I fuck your mom last night? I don't know. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. A deuces and a P-eyes.